Hello and welcome to the Forgotten Generation podcast with your host Troy Njenje-Mbanga for a special episode as this month is Black History Month. With me today is two amazing youth activists and our ambassadors.
Hello, thanks so much for having us. My name is Memphis Ayoade. I'm 22 years old. I'm an author, an advisor, a consultant, and a director. My social action are education and also violence reduction, and that falls under the umbrella of VOGS, the violence against women and girls as well.
Amazing.
Hello, I'm Monya Ahmed. I'm 17 years old and I'm a youth advocate. A lot of my work is based on getting young people's voices heard, so I'm working on reducing the voting age to 16 right now, and also on curriculum reform to make it more useful for the real life world later on.
Absolutely incredible. Thank you so much, guys. And so, what makes you proud to be a young person who is Black?
For me, I would say definitely heritage. So
Mhm.
understanding where you come from and how it represents you. I think representation is so important. So whether that's knowing you're Black British or Black Caribbean or Black African, whether it is knowing your heritage, your culture, understanding it, and then embodying it is really important for me. That's what I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I'd say I'm proud to be a young Black person, also because of the rich history and the culture that we carry with us. I think being Black is about being resilient, creativity, our community. I love that we have such an impact on the world on so many different ways. And growing up in a predominantly white area, I've come to appreciate this uniqueness of myself. And I love that I accept it now and I take pride in standing out and making sure my voice is heard.
Exactly, because I like that, because and being who you are is so important as a Black person. Because your voice matters and you should be able
Mhm.
to have that culture and be who you are without no one judging you. And so what has been your story about being because like a Black person in the UK?
I think that's a very good question, and I think it's a difficult question to answer, because there's not like one sole answer to it. I think there's many different moving parts, especially when you come from, for me, for example, I believe I come from an underrepresented community. So I've grown up my whole life in Croydon Borough. A lot of violence, high violence, also high poverty as well. A lot of low income households. And I think when you start to distinguish how you can, the great thing about those types of communities is that it's always diverse. So you're able to really figure out who you are and really understand other cultures and communities. And I think that's so important to even figuring out what what your community and what you embody as a Black person. Then you can engage with other communities and understand other communities and how they operate and how they function. Then you can then gain some sort of sense of purpose and work with other communities or work with your own communities within communities to build those communities.
Wow, amazing answer. 100% agreed there. You know, as a Sudanese Muslim girl in a predominantly white community, I often felt really invisible or misunderstood when I was younger. I didn't see myself in the media, I didn't get that reflection or to see myself represented. So I think my story as a Black person is that it really inspired me and it's what got me involved in social action, kind of reclaim my identity, put my place there in the world, in my community. So, joining campaigns, whether that's political, getting young people involved in democracy, or just Black people and ethnic people reclaiming their culture through cultural workshops or giving back to my community, like working as an interpreter. I think it's really just inspired me to put in that work in the world and making sure that I get a platform and make it so not only I'm heard, but other people who also felt really overlooked.
It's just so empowering for you guys to actually say this. It's just so because it's just so important in your story. I think it's
Yeah.
just so it's just so empowering to me because as a Black young person to listen to it and to be yeah, because this is this is how our lives are, and and we
Mhm.
should be able to do campaigns, we should be able to do certain things, and we should be able to do things like everybody else. And so, was it for your culture important? So, your culture beliefs are they important to you?
They are. I believe it goes back to the first point we were speaking about. We all kind of touched on it, but authenticity. So understanding your culture, understanding your beliefs, and then being authentic. I remember when I was younger. So my surname Ayoade is the Nigerian Yoruba name. I remember when I was younger and I was in school, because obviously it is a very I did grow up in a diverse area. However, you know, the African heritage wasn't very familiar growing up. So having a surname like Ayoade, I was very, if I'm being transparent, I was a bit like, I guess like worried or like nervous or disheartened or I guess even embarrassed. Like I felt embarrassed that I had that name because I didn't understand my heritage, my authenticity, and my roots. But the older I got, the more I understand what my name means, what it represents, and where we come from. You know, it means joy of the crown, and it comes from a lineage of kings and queens. And when you can understand your authenticity, when you can understand your culture, it allows you to be more yourself than your true self, and you won't be worried about, like for example, worrying about what your surname means. But I think it's really important to understand and to identify what your culture is and how can you embody it and just be really authentic to yourself.
Yeah, genuinely, it's talking about your name that is really relatable coming from a white area. You know, my name Monya Ahmed. I'd hear Moina, Monya, anything, or a teacher would read my name on the list and go, "You know who you are, I'll skip it." It sort of gives people
Mhm.
a pass to not put in that extra effort to even just get your name right. Or it would sort of invite other pupils to make fun of it. So as a young person, that impacted me really negative when I was younger. I was embarrassed about my culture. I didn't want to be different. I didn't understand why I had to be. And my culture, I would say, so I'm Sudanese, I'd say
Mm.
it's rich with history and values that I hold close to my heart. I cherish that deep connection to our family is so important to us. Our sense of hospitality. I really love that we're so welcoming to everyone and our resilience. Um, as a Muslim as well, I think my faith guides me in everything I do. And it's important to me that my culture and my beliefs are acknowledged. They shape my values, they give me a sense of belonging, even in a place where I don't always feel seen. And I think it's taken me a long time to get to grounds with that and accept it and kind of just embrace that it's okay to be different and make it a big part of me because it is who I am at the end of the day.
Exactly, and it is who you are, and and because I always think of myself as like Troy Njenje-Mbanga, and I'm proud of that because like sometimes when I was at primary school, I kind of felt
Mhm.
judged for my name because it literally was so different, and everyone else's names were different. But then I was like, everyone should be different, and
Mm.
because and I also should be proud of my culture and my beliefs as a Christian, and I should be okay with it. I shouldn't feel like I can't fit in
Exactly.
just because I'm
Yeah.
black. It's just so important, isn't it?
Yeah, you have. It's really important to embrace your identity. It's so important,
Hmm.
but unfortunately, a lot of people are pressured or you know dragged out of the concept of who you are. Most people don't know who they are, and I think that's a big thing to kind of figure out who you are. But with like society pressure, school pressure, people will create ideas of who you are before you even know who you are, and then
Oh, for
some people
sure.
never
Yeah.
figure out who they are again, and it's a big issue.
Absolutely. And what is the barriers that you face reclaiming your narrative as a Black person? Because as a theme this year for Black History Month is reclaiming your narrative.
I think when you even look at, like, for example, what's happened over the last few months in the UK with, coloured people or black people or people of colour, to be fair, because it wasn't just black, it was even BAME as well. Um, you can really see there are so much barriers, but it's very inconspicuous, so it's very hidden. It's not spoken about enough, and a lot of people would say, you know, the UK is not racist or the UK is not this. And to be fair, maybe it's not as racist as it used to be. However, there is obviously again that inconspicuous racism because we've seen it when the
Yeah.
last few months when there was terrorism acts, right, riots, and all sorts of horrendous acts that most people wouldn't agree with. So there's so many barriers. I couldn't really isolate it. Monya may be able to do a better, explanation than me. But I don't know. I think I don't know. I think probably the main barrier I'd say is like the lack of understanding your identity and your culture. Because once you lack that, you lack what you I don't know who you are again. Like it just goes back to who are you. And if you can't figure out who you are, then you're always going to be lost.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with that, especially with people putting you in a box and you not being able to be outside of that mold after you've been put in. And I think I've noticed that growing up in the UK as a black person, seeing the shift from being embarrassed of being black because of the type of content online that, YouTubers or content creators used to make, shaming black people and ridiculing them, to now this idea of them, being cool or being better, and how they kind of put you in that box. You don't get to have your own
Mm.
sense of cultural identity. You're black, you're this type of person, you have these types of personality traits, you have this one look, and if you don't fit it, then it doesn't matter to them. They put you in this box. And I think
Yeah,
one of the biggest barriers uh, is fighting against stereotypes and assumptions. People met before they know me or my story. They see your skin color, your religion, where you're from. They just put you in a box and it doesn't necessarily reflect who you are. So I think, especially living in Northern Ireland and in a predominantly white area, I've had to work harder to be seen and heard for me and to break through these like notions that people already have. So I think for me, reclaiming my narrative means that I'm constantly challenging these perceptions and making space for the real me.
very
Absolutely,
true.
because I
Very
absolutely
true.
I agree with you on that narrative. It's just so important that we actually feel fit in, and we shouldn't be in a box, as we all should be able to fit in, as because we're a whole community. And I just think that because a lot of people should accept us for us, and not just change us for something else, as we belong here, and we should have a right.
Exactly.
And our narrative is who we are, and our culture is who we are, and our beliefs is who
Exactly.
we are. And no one should take it away from us or actually and judge us for things. And we should all
Yeah.
just be, normal, and we all should just get along, in fact.
Yeah.
And so what would you want the government to actually do better to like acknowledge the culture and the background for you?
I think that's a really good question, and I think it's also tough as well because there's not one definitive answer. I would say I'm also a very big youth advocate. I do a lot of youth engagement, youth development work, um, and I believe a lot of I believe in how they could improve or do better around culture and engagement is really understanding what is the black or okay whatever culture is. For example, it could be black, it could be Asian, whatever culture it is, right? And then once you understand their culture, actually accept their culture. I think what the government is currently doing, they are diluting a lot of people's cultures. So they'll take a certain part
Mhm.
of their culture and they'll just want to take that part, but not the other part. But the other part is what embodies it, what actually forms it. So I guess there's a bit of like this disillusion or misinformation between that idea, and also the government could do a much better job of highlighting positivity around people's culture. A lot of the media, for example, which is obviously backed a lot by a lot of governments, is highlighting negative like
Mhm.
themes from cultures, which is not always the best route of interest. And I believe also engaging a lot more with the youth. The youth is the next generation, whether it's Gen Z or Gen Alpha,
Exactly.
understanding what they're lacking and how can we help them, making them feel engaged, making them feel like they have the next voice, and giving them a platform to express their ideas and their beliefs and their cultures, and just allowing people to be who they really want to be. Not, as you guys all said, not putting people in the box, not constraining that idea to people. I really believe a lot in the same. I remember when I was young and I created saying like most people think inside the box, some people think outside the box. I love to think that there isn't a box at all. And I think that's how the government should kind of operate in terms of culture, right? There is no box. It's not just one shoe that fits all. There's so many different types of cultures within cultures. And I think that's where they lack a lot. Understand the actual idea of what culture is and how to bring it all together.
Yeah, that's an amazing answer. I don't know if I can follow that up, but I want the government to do more than just recognize our existence. We're definitely getting better at it in the UK, with the likes of Black History Month and the curriculum and making it more engageable. But I definitely think in Northern Ireland we've got a lot of work to do, but we're not even close. I want them to actively include our stories in education. Why? I know we focus a lot on Black History Month. Why not throughout the year? Why do we
Yeah.
only get that short limited time? And also in policies and media representation. So I think that, this starts with Black history and the history of all the marginalized communities. I think it is a compulsory part of the curriculum, or it should be, so that young people, they can
Mm.
all grow up and understand the contributions and struggles of people like us in the world, and not just in that specific month that we have. And I
Mm.
think that school policies or just government policies should also reflect the needs of minority communities. So a good example of this would be, religious festivals or celebrations. It would count as an absence at school. You would miss work. I don't think it's fair, but we get that disadvantage. You're having to catch up on school, you're getting a lower attendance. It should be
Mm.
treated like any other holiday, really. And I think the government should try harder to actively engage with youth voices. I know we've got some specific councils and things, but I think we need to make a bigger effort. Yeah, I would also say, what would the word be? I don't like that tokenship of the government of, performative activism. I think we can do better than that, really.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
agree. Like taking actual action instead of just making it performative, making
Yeah,
it just some sort of act and not actually doing the actual work that needs to be done, actually getting it done.
Exactly. And to like I'm a good bit listening to this episode, like come on, like try and get a Black History Month more in the curriculum and just really like and get that culture and that beliefs in the in the education lessons. And just in general, really, just to talk about it a bit more.
It's so important. Like I said, just getting involved is probably the first step everyone can do, whether it's a small like History Month event or a panel discussion or literally canvassing or campaigning. Just getting involved. So important.
Exactly. And so what would you say to your younger self and being who you are now?
This is a very good question, and I remember I actually answered this question to myself sporadically a few weeks back because I was on a panel discussion to 200 plus students. I was speaking about apprenticeships, and it was amazing because if you told my younger self that when I was younger, I would be speaking on a panel, 200 people, 200 students about my journey and about how this can change them and this can help them, I wouldn't believe it. What I would tell my younger self is that, and this is what I told them. So there's two things I would say. The more value you add in this world, the more lives you change and the more you get paid. So value is a store of money. So focus on the value and the rest will come with it. I also would say the world will create social constructs. They will tell you what's right, what's wrong. The truth is, it's all perception. There's obviously morality, and other than that, it's not really right or wrong. It's all just someone's idea. Someone would tell you university is the best path. Someone would tell you apprenticeship is the best path. It's what works best for you, not being pressured to go down one route. And I really believe just really figure out who you are, and it's tough, and it doesn't happen overnight, and it takes time. But just be patient. It will all work out. Don't believe in the social contracts. Just literally trust your gut, because when you trusted your gut, it worked out. Where I am now is because I trusted myself. Um, don't have to worry about asking too many people for their opinions. It's pretty much what I would say in a nutshell. Yeah,
Love that. So inspiring that.
yeah, that's
thank you.
amazing, honestly. I think I would tell my younger self it's okay to feel different and it's a strength. It's not a weakness. I'd remind myself that, just because you don't see yourself in the world around you right now, it doesn't mean that you don't belong. You're valuable. And one day, you'll create spaces where others feel seen. So keep
Mm.
being bold, and you shouldn't make yourself diminished to make other people feel comfortable. You shouldn't miss out on opportunities because you're scared of being seen. Because if you do that, you'll never make an impact.
That is so true. And I would actually, I'll tell my younger self to like never give up and just be who
Mm.
you are. And to just like know that your voice matters. Yes, you're gonna
Yeah.
have days
Exactly.
where you want to give up and days where you feel like, okay, you're not good enough and you're not great at this, you can't have a voice because you're a background person, but actually you can. And yes,
Yeah.
with my disability, maybe it's hard for me to have a voice, but actually, because actually by having a voice and by actually working with other young people about the lived experiences that I face, can actually make a change. It can make a difference. So I would just say, go for it, keep going, just be you, and just know that you're not alone, as everyone is doing something to make a change in their community.
Very true. And like you said, like both of you, even myself, I know like all of our voice really matters. Like we're wearing we've all been in like great rooms with great leaders, great change makers,
Hmm.
politicians, or whoever it is, and they actually listen to our voices. Institutions, organizations, they want to hear from us. They ask for our opinion, our advice, because our opinion really matters, as you all know. And again, that idea of never giving up is so important. Like delayed gratification is so important. Don't worry about instant gratification, what you see online or what you see other people doing. They had their own journey. Your journey will be your own journey, and just keep going, never give up, as Troy said.
Absolutely.
Honestly, yeah. It takes a while, I think, to get to that point and understand that I can make a difference just because it doesn't feel like it right now. But you have to keep going because that's how you will get a breakthrough.
Indeed.
True. Very
And
true.
so what would be a quote to like sum up like on Black History Month to you?
It's a very good question. Monya, do you want to go first, or
I'll try and think. Um, a quote I would say is that it's kind of cheesy and overused, but history is power because we get to see what the people back then did for us and the impact they've made, and it kind of shows us now in the future. We've got so many resources, we can do that. Our voice is as loud as ever. We can make an impact.
Love that.
very true. I agree heavily. Very good quote. What I probably would say is something to sum up like History Month. I probably would say words, identity. I think that's such a powerful
It's
word.
good.
People are figuring out their own identity. Even once you figure out your identity, you're still figuring out your identity. People have things like identity crisis, for example. And then you even look at life, for example, everyone's doing life for the first time, no matter how old, how wise they are. It's still their first time doing life, and it's still their first time figuring out all out, figuring out where you come from and where you want to go and what identity you want to create. Who do you want to be known for? Who do you want to be?
Love that.
Wow, yeah.
I love that. I think for my quote, I will say actually just like and be who you are in your identity and just shine as a shooting star and just
Yeah,
like never give up on what you believe in as your voice as a Black person matters and you should be able to make that change. Yeah, but thank you so much,
Wow,
guys,
yeah.
for coming on this special episode today. Really great
Thank you for having us.
insights anytime. It's brilliant. Please support the podcast by subscribing and rating the podcast. I'd love to hear what you like and what could be better for future episodes. If you want to find me, you can find me on Instagram and I will .troy and also on X I will _Troy. Tune in to next week's episode